Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you can tell in my voice that I've got a special guest back in the studio, and it is so true. My longtime friend and colleague, always doing magnificent things in this community, has been doing it ever since he landed here from New York many years ago, and that is Deacon Jim Vargas. He's the president and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. Always good to see you, Jim.
Drew, my friend, good to be with you. How many years have we known each other now? 26, I think.
At least 26 years.
Yeah,
Jim doesn't age,
time.
and that really irritates me. Anybody has known him on that aspect, and I still look 105 years old. No, it's just an honor, and Jim's got his colleague in the house with us, Mark Stevenson, a licensed behavioral health clinician for Father Joe's. How you doing, Mark?
Not bad for an old guy.
Oh, I doubt you're old. Don't give me that business. How long have you been working with Father Joe's Villages?
I've been there going on 18 years.
18 years. I appreciate you doing all this great work for this the community. You can't do enough, and supporting the work that you're in. And I'm honored to have a guest co-host with me. Second time she's been doing this, and she's a senior Girl Scout. I've been involved with the Girl Scouts for 10 years, and that is Ashley Hilliard. How you doing, Ashley?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine over here. And Jim, is I know your face is lit up, and you love it. We see the youth in here doing the shows.
I love it.
Absolutely. Well, she's got a question for you guys right off the bat.
Yeah, right off the bat, can one of you just share like the overall mission of Father Joe's Villages?
Sure. I'll start off, and Mark, you can join me. I mean, we are the number one homeless services provider in San Diego, I believe, right? And when I said number one, I mean we're by virtue of our size, and on any given night we give some level of support to 3,000 individuals, whether it be through our shelter bed system or through affordable housing homes that we have as well. And then we have, within that, we have a federally qualified health center with all disciplines, including dental care. We also have a therapeutic child care center, because those kids who come to us are really academically, emotionally, and socially delayed. And in many ways, we need to help them mitigate those circumstances. Otherwise, they're 4 times more apt to be homeless in adulthood, Ashley. So it's very critical there.
Yeah.
We have our employment center. And we also have besides our shelter system, we develop housing. And our most recent one was a year ago that on which we cut the ribbon, 14-story, 407 homes, taking over 500 people off the streets, right? And so housing is what breaks the cycle of homelessness, we always say, right? So we need more affordable housing in this town. And of course, we serve about 1 million meals a year, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's so many things that we do, and it runs the full gamut of what those who are on the streets and mired in homelessness, as well as mental health challenges and substance use disorder and so forth, what they need, we're able to help them in order to lift themselves up, and they can go forward and be self-sufficient. So that's
well, listen, that's only 1/20th of what you guys do in that aspect as well. Mark, talk about the area that you're an expert in.
I work at the Village Health Center Clinic, but I've been there for 18 years, and I've had almost every job in the village, so it really kind of gets you to become seasoned and well-rounded in all of the different aspects of support. All of the programs that Deacon Jim just mentioned, all of them have supportive services teams on them to help people be successful in each one of those areas. And, my specific area now, after, everything else that I've done at the village, is that I am a behavioral health clinician 3 at the village. So I'm a social worker for the doctors, and that is to help them support any of the clients that they serve in their care plans with their doctors. And that's for both mental health and physical health. And I also provide therapy, specializing in trauma therapy, because the population that we serve is got a lot of complex trauma you just would not believe.
Right. So talk about how you help the doctors with that continuum of care. Give me an example.
Well, the doctors sometimes have clients that they, establish, the problem area that needs work and the specific things that need to be done. Outside and around that, I may, notify staff at the village to help remind the client to show up to certain appointments. I may help with our outreach team to make sure that they are provided transportation to make those plans successful.
Right. We are chatting with our good friends from Father Joe's Villages, Deacon Jim Vargas, the president and CEO, joined by his colleague Mark Stevenson, licensed behavioral health clinician. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, and joined by my co-host, Ashley Hilliard. She is a senior Girl Scout, has been with the Girl Scouts for 10 years. And Jim and Mark, I do want to bring up, Ashley, it is cookie season, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So cookie season started on January 29th and will be running through March 12th. And I'm sure all of you are aware what cookie season is. And through cookie sales, the girls can learn goal setting, decision making, money management, people skills, and business ethics, and just all around. They learn so many business skills from this program.
That's right. And so we're asking all of our guests today, do you have a favorite Girl Scout cookie? Jim?
Oh, the mint thins.
Yes.
Thin mints.
The thin mints, right?
Okay, how about you, Mark?
Same thing here.
You know what? I got to tell you that the guests in the earlier show said the same thing. Ashley is the outlier. What's your favorite?
Samoas. I like the Samoas.
Samoas, yeah.
Those are good.
Those are my next.
Yeah.
Now, what's the number one seller?
Number one seller, Thin Mints, 100%.
Yeah.
You always have to make sure you have a bunch of those whenever you're selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
But Jim, Jane, she was a Girl Scout mom with Sammy, and we knew this well because our garage was full of Girl Scout cookies for God knows how long in that aspect of it. Jim, talk a little bit about harm reduction and what this is all about.
Well, we've often, you and I have spoken about meeting people where they are, and that's extremely important. Those who are on the streets are at different points of their journey out of homelessness, I like to think.
Right. And
so you got to help them in their respective situations and in unique situations. There isn't a one-size-fits-all or cookie-cutter approach, right? So harm reduction is a way of reaching individuals who have some level of, say, of substance use disorder. And we know that exists. And to think that, hey, you know what, the only way that they're going to get help is if they kick that habit, well, that just means that they're going to be suffering on the streets, because of their addiction. And so we need to recognize that, and we need to extend whatever is necessary in order to help them, to lift them up from their situations. For instance, we use medication-assisted treatment. And Mark can kind of get into a lot of these aspects, but
Please.
Medication-assisted treatment is basically a way of weaning people off of substances. Right. So again, it's recognizing, hey, you're on substances. We're here. This is just one way that we can help you. There was a very, very successful, I'll call it, successful project that was that we basically ran a number of years ago through some funding that we received from various funders, in order to really look at those who were out there and were truly mired and plagued with a lot of things, and was keeping them on the streets, and they had a lot of health issues. And as a result, they accessed 911, they accessed ambulance services, they accessed hospital rooms and jail cells, right? And that is all very costly to the community, extremely costly. This is the tunes of millions of dollars.
Right.
And so we were approached in order to target 25 of the heaviest users out there. We wound up with about 36. We called it Project 25 nonetheless. And then what I'd like to do is actually have Mark describe exactly what happened over the course of that study. It wasn't a study, actually. It's actually how we helped them over the course of a number of years, and the success that we had. And when I say we, I don't just mean those who were impacted by the actual program itself or Father Joe's Villages, but the community at large, because how economically it improved the community. And so we can turn it over to Mark.
Please.
Well, I had the blessing of being able to be the director of Project 25, and mostly because I don't know how to say no. But
you and Jim have that problem,
Yeah, right.
and that's not a problem, by the way. That's a great asset.
so we ended up being tasked with trying to work with a targeted group of people that no existing services had been able to make any impact on or be successful with. We did not know how we were going to do it, but one of the things that's unique at Father Joe's Villages is we're able to develop programs around the client instead of develop a program and wait for the client to fit into it. So that's what we set about doing in that program. And ultimately, there was like 28 of these particular people. I guess it was Project 25. We served 36, and the study's 28, just to confuse you. But
Right.
28 of these people cost over $4 million in a single year in emergency services use.
Wow.
And so we, realizing the importance of housing, we had some housing vouchers, and we had a harm reduction approach, which was a lot of these people had not made a decision to stop some of their self-destructive behavior and drug use and things like that. So we approached them, and we began, developing a relationship and rapport with them, and using a language with them to help them become more aware of their drinking and their drug use, and more aware of the things that were available. We use some of the similar things that are used in recovery, like keep coming back, one day at a time, things like this, so that we didn't create an alternative recovery, but rather a potential bridge at some point.
Right.
This language seemed to be really helpful in helping them be able to navigate ways to start thinking about behavior change. We were able to get them into the clinic, even though they hadn't stopped drinking and using. We were able to get them into housing, even though they haven't stopped that. But we were also able to help them with their care plans and maybe get their mental health treated. They all had mental health problems. They all had at least 3 major physical health problems, and they all needed to be successful in housing. So we stayed with them. It was a very labor-intensive process, but really it was based on the relationship that we were able to build with them, the trust we were able to build with them, the things that we discussed with them, the language that we used with them, and the harm reduction approaches that we use with them, especially in moderation planning and things like that.
So how are they doing now?
Some of them have passed away in housing, and we consider that a positive outcome because they transitioned from homelessness to permanent housing to eternal housing.
Right. That's a good way of calling it. Yeah.
And a lot of the original ones are still in housing today and not having to receive those intensive services.
And when you do this, and Jim, I'm so glad we're bringing up this subject. Is you look at, if nothing else, for those folks, you and I have had this conversation over the many years you've been on the show. Those folks who sort of just poo-poo what's going on with the homeless, and they deserve it, and which is shocking that people even think this way, but some people do, and they want to be this way, and of course they don't want to be this way. If nothing else, you are saving yourself taxpayer money by doing this, and if nothing else, by supporting Father Joe's Villages, you're saving money out of your own pocket. Are you not?
Absolutely you are. In fact, Point Loma Nazarene University did an independent study at the end of this successful project.
Right. And
within the study, and it was well thought out, despite the fact, as Mark mentioned, that this entailed extensive resources and the financial aspect of that as well, the community as a whole wound up saving $2 million each of those years, right? And has continued to save those dollars as it relates to these individuals because their situations was very costly, right? I mean, out in the streets, and as I mentioned, whether it's hospital, incarcerations, whatever it is, right? So yes, it required extensive resources, but look at the success, and the success in saving lives. Never mind that. So the entire community really prospered economically as a result.
Well, I don't think it costs you that much money to put the doggone thing on, right? And so it's a positive net to the community in 75,000 different ways. By the way, it's the humane thing to do. How about that as number one?
But we save lives, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone tends to forget that aspect of it. Jim and Mark, when we come back from break, I know Ashley has some questions for you on some of the bigger challenges moving forward with harm reduction. I think she wants to ask a question about fentanyl. It's been in the news all the time as well. And Jim, as you know, we always save time in the second half of the interview. What can our listeners do to support your efforts in every single which way you can think of? When we return with our good friends from Father Joe's Villages, Deacon Jim Vargas, President and CEO, joined by the licensed behavioral health clinician Mark Stevenson. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show here on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined with my unbelievable co-host, Senior Girl Scout Ashley Hilliard. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, joined by my unbelievable co-host, Ashley Hilliard. She's a senior Girl Scout. You enjoying this?
I'm really enjoying this. This is something I really like doing.
Very, very good. With our friends from Father Joe's Villages, Deacon Jim Vargas, the president and CEO, joined by Mark Stevenson, licensed behavioral health clinician. We've learned everything about harm reduction that is saving this community lives, number one, most important, but money as well, and services. I know you got a question for Deacon Jim.
Yeah, so I know there's been a lot of stuff in the news about fentanyl and how that's been affecting people. Has that affected any of your community outreach or any of the people that you help at Father Joe's Villages?
That's a very astute question. It absolutely has. Let me put it in perspective. Pre-COVID, we had about 73 individuals who died on the streets. We have individuals die on the streets every single year. All right. The latest number is about 575,
Oh, wow.
half of whom have died because of drug overdose, right?
Oh, wow.
Fentanyl is wreaking havoc on those in general, but on those who are on the streets. Absolutely. Mark sees it and his colleagues. We see it every day. In fact, I can't tell you the number of times on a weekly basis that one of our team members, security team, residential, whatever it is across the board, administers Narcan in order to bring somebody back to life, in essence, from an overdose, basically reverse the effects of an overdose. So the answer to that is absolutely it's having a major impact.
And how do you curb that? Or can you curb that, Mark?
Well, one of the things that our agency, like Deacon Jim was saying a minute ago, we've always had mandatory CPR training for all of our staff so they can save lives on the stand. But we also instituted training for all of our staff, that had to do with Narcan and being able to kind of save a life in that moment. That way, we have Narcan accessible and we have people that are trained in being able to use it. And I know our street health team, for one, is one that has had to put that to use and save lives from that. Our outreach team as well that are out there on the streets are able to do this. And of course, we still conduct our Suboxone program in here that gets a lot of people, a lot closer to us, a lot more available for, discussions about, changing their ideas and maybe some of their behaviors around their substance use and reducing the cravings and everything. There's groups that they attend in order to get their Suboxone. So there's a lot of exposure for them to be able to make some changes and some transitions. It's the folks that are out there on the streets that aren't accessing a lot of this, that might be most vulnerable to, things like fentanyl overdose.
Right. And Jim, we did talk about your street health team last time you were on as well. And what I love about the approach of Father Joe's Villages, you guys are at go time 24/7, 365. It doesn't know any dates. Yes, we always like to focus on Thanksgiving, and yes, we focus on Christmas and Hanukkah and all that business. These things don't know a date. They don't know a time, and it's anywhere and so forth. But I want to get back to the harm reduction and what you folks have done, and I think it's so important for those organizations. I use Second Chance as an example, and you're familiar with Second Chance. They do a wonderful job with reducing recidivism. At $75,000 a year per prisoner, I think it's probably well worth the investment. What you guys are doing is the same thing. How many people understand what you're doing in that aspect as, yes, you're saving lives. We know how important that is, but you're also saving services.
Well, it's a good question. You ask how many people understand it. I mean, I think for the most part, people do understand that. I think what we are seeing of late is frustration. I mean, so even though the understanding is there, people are frustrated, as are we, who are in the space of homelessness. And that situation, despite all these efforts, appears to be getting worse. Right? I mean, the year on year, the point in time count. We talked about the point in time count. In fact, the most recent was just taken last week, by the way.
Right.
So we'll get those numbers in 2 to 3 months. But when you compare 2020 to 2022's numbers, in 2022 it showed that there had been a 10% increase year to year, and by overall homelessness, 37% increase in families falling into homelessness.
Right, and seniors.
And seniors are being impacted as well. That's exactly right. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. And so I'm often asked, well, should we just give up? I mean, in fact, I'm asked whether I get so overwhelmed, or we get overwhelmed, and while we get frustrated as well, but you can't give up. Are you kidding me? We make a choice each and every single day to continue to make a difference in the lives of these individuals. It's imperative.
So a question I've got on that one, and Mark, I'll start with you on it, and Jim, you can lead into it. So now, despite wonderful efforts of you folks and your rescue mission, and go down the whole list, all the people, your colleagues that you very much respect and love to work with, and so forth in that area. But the numbers go up. When there's a net plus, Mark, is it because of the people that are severely addicted, like fentanyl or some of the others, or it's all over the board of those numbers of people that are adding to the net?
Well, it's hard to say, exactly, whether some of that is happening before homelessness or after. You have to understand, as these rents continue to increase, some of these increase in homelessness is coming from people falling out of housing
100%.
Because they no longer can afford it.
100%.
Another thing that's happening is some of the gangs that are wanting to, push fentanyl are looking at some of these affordable housing complexes, and they're going in there and they're trying to, establish themselves with one of the residents there, and then kind of take over their apartment, and then have more availability of things like fentanyl.
Oh, wow.
Not to mention they're mixing fentanyl in some of the other drugs to create a new drug.
Yeah.
They're mixing fentanyl and methamphetamine. They're mixing it in marijuana so that people go, wow, this is different, this is new, and they want it. But, not always with the right ability to be able to, keep the right amount in one spot. One person can, use a little bit of a drug, that has fentanyl in it from one part of the baggie, and from the other side of the baggie, that part can kill somebody.
Right. So, Jim, getting back to the harm reduction, that is so, a positive strides you folks have made in this aspect of it. Can our listeners help at all in this area? Obviously, donations are really important, but what other things can they do?
Volunteering. You mentioned through 2 great holidays throughout the year, and that's Christmas and Thanksgiving. We get so many volunteers at that point in time, and I love it. But to your point, we're there 365 days a year. Right? Serving meals, as an example, breakfast, lunch, and dinner in 2 dining rooms, right? Working with individuals. So people who are with us, as you say, it's 24/7 for us. So people can get involved in various ways. There are individuals who have been physicians, let's say, or have been dentists, and maybe they've retired now. They want to give back. Well, our federally qualified health center could really benefit from your services, right, on a volunteer basis. Or the therapeutic childcare center, if you've been a social worker, working with Mark, in the work that he does as well. So there's so many ways in which you can get involved on a volunteer basis. We have thrift stores, all right? We have 4 thrift stores. Go and shop at our thrift stores. Great quality merchandise for very reasonable prices. And in fact, the merchandise there comes from the generous donations of your listeners, as an example. Preset appointments. We send out our trucks. We pick up your furniture. We pick up your cars, your boats, and we get to sell them.
And I'm one of the beneficiaries of that, because I took advantage of that, and it was wonderful. And I'll be making a call to you guys very shortly to do some more cleaning out at the house and all that.
Well, it's interesting. You said you're one of the beneficiaries. We're one of the beneficiaries of your generosity.
Well, I think we both are. I got stuff out of my house, and it was to do something that could benefit you folks. We've got about a minute or so to go over here. Mark, any final comments?
If I was going to give any final comment, I would just have to say that, a long time ago, the village established an approach called the Creed. And that's our approach. It consists of compassion, respect, empathy, empowerment, and dignity. And all of our staff are kind of trained in the creed, and whatever services that we deliver and whatever concept or approach or intervention that we use, if we base it in the creed, in that approach, we establish the kind of relationship that makes success more possible.
Absolutely, Jim. Anything else?
Oh, thank you, Drew. You're good at having us here on a monthly basis, and there's so much to discuss. This is front and center in the community. We know that. It's impacting really everybody, and whether you're residing there, whatever it is, or you're working in a particular area, people want to see a change, and so your community is what helps to make that happen, your community of listeners. So I extend a thank you to each and every single one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Our pleasure. Ashley, any comments?
No, not really. It was wonderful having you guys and listening to all the work that you do.
Yeah, it really is something that's great, and maybe you'll call on Ashley and her Girl Scouts. They do a lot of volunteering in the community, as you know, for whatever events you have coming up. I know they would be there, shoulder to shoulder. As we've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.